It's time to get into the music. This show is a weekly audio tour of the artists and events who shape the sound evolution of popular music. I'm your host, Al Neff. Thanks for being by your radio right now. Well, what I wanted to do with this video was to give a chance for people to actually get into the music. Hopefully they've been able to hear it on the radio or some other way, but this is sort of taking them into the inner sanctum of how it's actually created. This is where Into the Music is actually created, and I have the Beatles on the door because I really think that the Beatles were the door, at least one of the main doors for music to develop as it did, thank goodness. I've really known most of my life, I think, since I was 11 or 12 that I wanted to be into radio and music. Of course, I have no musical talent, so I had to go toward radio. But every little piece in here that has some sort of a story attached to it. And Into the Music is very much about storytelling. I'm hoping it's about entertainment and education too. Here now we have the creation of the Into the Music Insta Studio. I create the sound chamber by hanging blankets from the ceiling. Usually I have them down, but I just put them up on those hooks. One more to go, and all of a sudden I sound fantastic in this little room. Okay, well now we're really getting into the music. This is the specific space where the radio series is actually created. The blankets hanging from the ceiling are surrounding us, so there's a little sound cocoon in here. And here's how I do it. I get a kick out of this because people tell me all the time that the show sounds like it is of national quality. It is, but I hang blankets from the ceiling, and here's how the studio comes together. I have a good microphone. Maybe not great, but pretty darn good. I use that as an elbow pad while I'm recording. This is a great resource. I use this all the time when I'm putting programs together, the great rock discography, but it's also good to set the microphone on, bring it up to my face a little bit more, and then I like this one too, Backstage Past by my friend Barry Fay, former rock promoter, who's worked with everyone in music. And we plug in, and this is the Into the Music Frisbee. It keeps my coffee warm, but also gives the mic a nice tilt, so I get a direct space to project the voice into the mic. Okay, and now it truly is time to get into the music, so I just picked out a script from the stack, just at random. This happens to be on Blondie. It's a show that I did earlier this year. One deep breath. Hit the record button. It's time to get into the music. This show is a weekly audio tour of the artists and events who shape the sound evolution of popular music. I'm your host, Al Neff. Thanks for being by your radio right now. This time we turn the light toward a band that bridged gaps between classic rock and pop, new wave and world beat, sparkled with the visual magnetism of their lead singer, who was often called the Marilyn Monroe of music. Okay, so we hope you have enjoyed this little peek behind the veil of radio. That's one of the most fascinating things about what radio can create in your mind. We hope that you, if you've heard the show on the air, that you envisioned a big studio in a big city, but that's not the case at all. We have blankets hanging from the ceiling and a stack of books propping up the mic. It's a used mic, but it's a good one. It's a good computer, but it's 6 years old now. Been working on this for about 10 years, really dedicating ourselves to it. We really see a lot of potential to spread the story of music out to the world and through generations, and that's a good mission. So if you can help us in any way, financially or just simply by spreading the word to your friends and to your local radio station, we'd sure appreciate that help. And we'll see you down the road on the radio. What we're talking about with the Into the Music project is no less than the story of music, told in a respectful, informed way, amplifying the enjoyment with awareness and honoring what music has meant to our life and times. It pains those of us who love music to realize that the threads that bind its evolution are becoming frayed. Some young people have only a passing awareness of Elvis or the Beatles or Bob Dylan. Carl Perkins and the Jefferson Airplane and the Ramones aren't even on their map. And for those of us who have lived our lives with this music as our soundtrack, the exposure we're now given on most radio outlets has become very limited to a small, over-consulted fraction of this amazingly rich and inspired library, arguably the most dynamic cultural artifact of the 20th century.
Our mission is to widen that scope, connecting the notes through the stories of the key artists and events to ensure that the links to the chain aren't lost and are instead expanded to become accessible to as many people as possible. The foundation has already been built for free. The next step is to widen listener access to the program. We feel this can be done in 1 year with a strategic expansion of the existing Into the Music library to make it more viable to multiple public and commercial radio formats. This effort will be combined with a dedicated marketing campaign to secure airtime for Into the Music on a target of 50 stations around the country. Beyond that, we hope to establish an Into the Music internet station, and in the longer run clear the copyrights that will allow us to provide ownership and on-demand access. This will be the real fulfillment in the potential impact of the series. By joining us in partnership now, you'll allow Into the Music to continue. As a result, your ears are certain to smile, and with a little help from our friends, the circle will be unbroken.